Hi, welcome. Good evening. This is Tracy Oliver with Black Educators Rock, and I am the director of local chapters. And I have here the lovely, beautiful, our CEO, Dr. Melissa Chester here, and we're actually doing our very first. What is it? Our very first virtual summit, closing of school summit. And we're so excited to have you here. So let me turn it over to Doc, and she can tell you a little bit more about the summit and our presenters, and then she will give us some information about our our conference that's coming up in was it in July, Doc?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead,
So
Dr.
welcome
Justin.
everyone to, like Tracy said, our inaugural closing of school virtual summit. Hopefully next year we'll be doing this face to face, but we don't know. So if not, it will be back to you virtual. As Dr. Jackson, one of our colleagues, like to say, if you're not innovating, you're evaporating. So sometimes you have to do Harvard pivots, and you have to change your course, but you got to be ready, right? You got to always have a plan B. And so here we are doing things virtually,
Right.
and what we plan to do is that same energy we bring to you face to face, we're going to bring it to you virtually. And so here we are having our closing of school summit, and it's just that. It's talking about we're getting ready to close a school year that was unlike any other school year that any of us could have ever imagined. No matter whether it was our first year, our 30th or 40th year, nobody could have predicted that this school year would transpire the way it did. And so what we're doing is just having a closing of school summit and bringing on some of the best practitioners and experts and consultants in the country just to talk to you guys, give you some end of the year strategies, as well as some words of hope and encouragement. And just to kind of get you, ease you out of this year, but get you ready and prepared and looking forward to the upcoming year. Because again, this has been stressful for everyone involved. Everyone has been involved in this has found this to be, completely stressful. And so that is what we're going to do today. Like Tracy said, in July, we are going to have our fifth annual rock conference. 5 is my favorite number, guys. It's my line number with Delta. It was my basketball. 5 is so powerful to me, and I was so looking forward to number 5 being here in Jacksonville. And then, what's her name? Rona hit. And
Rona.
Everything. So here we are having to go virtual for our rock conference. So our rock conference will be virtual, and it will be July the 30th through August 2nd.
Right.
So we pushed it back. Initially, it was going to be the 9th through the 12th here in Jacksonville, but now we're going to be the end of the month, going into August, and it's going to be a virtual conference. And we're going to bring back not only those that you will see tonight in the virtual closing of school summit, but so many others of our phenomenal practitioners and experts who are all across this country, and they're going to come to us and they're going to pour into us this summer. And so looking super, we're going to do some partying. We're still going to have our partings. We do a meet and greet at Black Educators Rock. We're going to meet and greet. We're just going to do it virtually. We're going to have us a DJ in the house, and he's going to DJ for us, and we're still going to have fun. We're just going to do it virtually. I'm super excited about our conference. And if you don't know, again, Black Educators Rock, as you see, is so much more than a Facebook group. We are an actual national nonprofit. Membership is $50 a year. That's an annual membership. And it has its privileges. So make sure you become a member today. And so we focus on 3 areas of focus: instructional strategies and practices, professional knowledge, and advocacy empowerment. So those are our areas that we're always pouring into our educators. And it is educators, principals, deans, teachers, anybody who is in education and who wants to see our children prosper and see them do better, see them advance. Black Educators Rock is for you. Yes.
Yeah. So tonight, Doc, we have 4 very special guests, and they will totally focus on our first area of focus, which is what is it? I don't. What's our first?
Professional knowledge. Which one?
Professional knowledge. So talk to us a little bit about that, and as we bring in Principal Kafele.
So professional, right? So we said 3 areas. So when it comes to professional knowledge, you're talking about things like classroom management. How do you attain grants? How do you how do you become a consummate professional? How do you maintain your professionalism? What is your mindset like? You know, pouring into those things, leadership qualities, having leadership coaching, etc. All those things are a part of your professional knowledge. And so, you know, the professional knowledge is that what makes you the consummate professional that you are. And so that area is what we're going to be pouring into tonight. And so we'll talk a bit about instructional strategies tomorrow and practices tomorrow. And so, surprise, 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 as she's already let the cat out the bag, we know that we have Principal Kafele on the roster for Thursday night, but because of him being so popular and him being in such high demand, he actually mistakenly double booked. And so he wanted to make sure he addressed our audience. And so he's going to actually be our first guest. So for those of you who thought it not robbery to pay attention on the first night and be in the very first session, you're in for a treat because you're going to get to see my big brother, Kafele. Should I go ahead and read his bio?
Go ahead. I'm going to bring him on in, Doc. Here he is. Yay.
A highly regarded urban educator in New Jersey for over 20 years, Principal Baruti Kafele distinguished himself as a master teacher and a transformational school leader. As an elementary school teacher in East Orange, New Jersey, he was selected as the East Orange School District and Essex County Public Schools Teacher of the Year and New Jersey State Teacher of the Year finalist. As a middle and high school principal, Principal Kafele led the turnaround of 4 different New Jersey urban schools, including the mighty Newark Tech, which went from a low-performing school in need of improvement to national recognition, which included U.S. News and World Report magazine, recognizing it 3 times as one of America's best high schools. Principal Kafele is also the author of 11 books. Most recently, his newly released #1 bestseller, The Assistant Principal 50, Critical Questions for Meaningful Leadership and Professional Growth. Without further ado, my big brother, the godfather of Black Educators Rock, Mr. Principal Kafele.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Chester.
Hey,
Principal Oliver, to be here this evening, and I'm grateful that you guys gave me an opportunity to be here tonight because of this mindless schedule conflict that I did the other day. But you know, folks out there in Black Educators Rock land, as my topic this evening, it's just times may be tough, but you are tougher.
Yes.
All right.
But you are tougher. I want to spend these few minutes on 3 words: the word way, the word will, and the word why. And then I'm going to be finished. So think about it. Here we are. We're in the midst of a global pandemic, right? A global pandemic. Who would have thought it? And its implications and its impact on an entire world. So here we are looking at you all, the educators, the essential workers as it relates to education. We can't do anything without you. So here you are, you know, you think about typically a Broadway play, for example. You got all those rehearsals leading up to opening night. Then you got that dress rehearsal, and then you got opening night. Well, with you all, with us as educators, and with people beyond education, there were no rehearsals. There was no dress rehearsal. It was just opening night, right? So now you had to go right to Zoom, right to Google Meet, right to whatever the platforms you're using, and you had to teach. And we know that a percentage of those young people did not have connectivity, nor did they have technology in their homes, right? Or maybe one computer, but there's several children within the household and everybody's teachers on it at the same time. So that presented its own set of challenges. So here, the stresses that you consider just with school alone in normal circumstances, and then you couple that with the stresses, the challenges, the obstacles, the pressures, the demands that come with virtual learning. Man, that in and of itself can cause one to lose one's way. That's that first word. Once again, the challenges that we're facing now within the realm of education, prior, and then we couple that with prior to whatever challenges that you faced then, but now those challenges can cause one to lose one's way. What do you mean, Principal Kafede? Lose one's way. In other words, your way is your direction. So there's a certain direction that you were headed in. And now here comes this detour called global pandemic, called new coronavirus, called COVID-19, and whatever other names they give it. This detour, because you were on your path, you were on your road, you were on your way to taking youngsters to heights previously unimagined. And then bam, this thing happens, right? So and everything that emanates out of it, the loss of life all around us. I don't think there's a soul on the planet that doesn't know someone impacted, or the folks that got sick from it, including myself, right? So and then all the challenges that we face in our lives and the challenges that our children face in their lives. It can be so overwhelming that you and I can lose our way. And I'm saying to you, as I said with the title a little bit earlier, let me restate it. Times may be tough. In fact, I could say times are tough, but you and you and you are tougher. And you got to know that. You got to believe that you're tougher than the times. Because see, once you lose your way, you've lost your sense of direction. You've lost your path. You've lost your road. And you can't lose your way, because when you lose your way, essentially you're going to lose your will in the process. Because you're kind of just all over the place. You're meandering. You're trying to figure it out. And as you're trying to figure it out relative to finding your way, you got to make sure that you never, ever lose your will. And when I say your will, I'm talking about your drive. I'm talking about your determination. I'm talking about your passion. Because prior to this situation, and prior to you becoming a teacher or a leader or a counselor or whatever your capacity, you had this will to achieve at a high level. You didn't go in there to be mediocre. You didn't go into that classroom to be okay. You didn't go into that classroom to be average. You went into that classroom because you had the will to be Superman, the will to be Superwoman. You said, I'm going in there and I'm going to defy all of the odds. You said, I'm going to defy all of the stereotypes and generalizations. You said, I've got the will to achieve at the highest possible levels. So your will, but now, again, we're in the midst of this pandemic, and it's so easy to lose your way. And while losing your way, it's easy to lose your will. But see, when we talk about your way and your will, there's another thing here. Because if you allow yourself, if you become susceptible to losing your way and losing your will, there's a strong chance that you will forget your why. Let me say that again, because somebody didn't hear me. If you fall prey or fall susceptible to losing your way, there's a strong chance that you will probably lose your will, because you're too busy trying to find your way. And when you lose your way and you lose your will, it is so easy to forget your why. And when I say your why, for those that don't know the slang, I'm talking about your purpose. I'm talking about your reason. I'm talking about your because. I'm saying to you that when you made the decision, before we even knew what a COVID-19 was, when you made the decision that I want to teach, you may have even verbalized it. You said, I want to teach. I want to be a teacher. But you didn't put a period at the end of the statement. You put a comma. You said, I want to teach because, and whatever followed that because, that was probably your why. See, for me, to give you an example, I said, I want to teach because I want to be a walking, breathing lesson and example for Black boys. I said, I want to be able to teach the young men what it is to be a young man, right? I want to teach these young males, these young Black males. I started in Brooklyn, New York City. The whole class was Black, right? I said, I want to walk into this classroom knowing that the overwhelming majority, 80% are going home to a fatherless household. Let me fill that void. I said, I want to teach them the difference between being a young male and a young man. I want to model for them the difference between being a young male and a young man. That was my why. See, everything else, if I stretch my arms, that was my work. That was my job. That was my responsibility. That was in the job description. But see, as I close my arms and my hands and narrow it to this very narrow view, I said, this is my why. See, all this stuff is just the things I got to do. But this here, this is personal. See, this personal. This me. I'm looking in the mirror. This me and the person in my mirror, right? I say, I'm in here in terms of specificity because I want to build men here. I want to show America that whatever you saw on the news, whatever you saw in pop culture, whatever you saw, the stereotypes that were presented to you, let me show you something fundamentally different. So now let's bring this thing all full circle now. I'm talking about the why. And in this example, I was talking about my why. I'm assuming that everybody watching this live and everybody that will see the tape, that you have a why. But I'm also going to say in conjunction that if you don't have a why, or if you lost your why, or if you forgot your why, you better go and find it. You better go and locate it. You better go and identify it. Because you can't do this job at an optimal level if your why is not driving everything you do. If your why is not driving your decision making, if your why is not driving your approach to your practice and your approach to your children, your why is your anchor. Your why is the foundation upon which you stand. So I'm saying to you, if you find yourself in a situation right now and you lost your way, then I'm telling you, you have probably lost your will along the way and forgotten your why. You've got to go back and get it. And then once you find it, if you even got to search for it, once you find it, you got to put it close to the vest. And you cannot move about without your why, because that why is your reason for walking in there. So as I look at the clock, I did something crazy here. What'd I just do? Oh my goodness. I think I lost everything. Dang. Do I have my folks here? Yeah.
Keep going. You're good.
I thought I did something, but I got you. Here we go. Y'all heard me say that D word, I think. So here we go. I want to wrap it up like this. Within the realm of the way, the will, and the why, I got this question. And within this, the overall pandemic, I got this question for you. And the question is self-reflective. I just want you to ask yourself, and I shouldn't try to do what I was just doing again, but I'm going to do it. There we go. All right. I just want you to ask yourself this question. Chica said, I was still on, man. Y'all heard me use that D word. Listen. Ask yourself this question. Are my students at an advantage? I got to scream this one, y'all. Because I am their teacher. Let me hit that with you one more time. Are my students, look at it, my students at an advantage because I am their teacher. In other words, I'm saying to you, let me talk fast because my minutes are about up. I'm saying there are 50.6 million children in America. There are 3.5 plus million teachers in America. There are over 90,000 schools in America. But of all these, all the teachers that are here, all these students that are here, all these schools, I want you to think of the student that needs you most. Somebody would call them at risk. I never use that language. That's deficit speech. But someone would say at risk. I want you to think about that student that needs you most, right? So now that student could have wound up anywhere on the planet, any continent, but wound up in North America, wound up in United States, wound up in your state, your region, your city or town, your school, your classroom, and then you, same scenario. You could have wound up anywhere, but you wound up with that youngster in the same place by fate. So I'm saying to you, if the two of you wound up in the same place by fate, I'm asking you the question, is that student at an advantage because you are the teacher? In other words, if someone else wound up in your space instead of you with that scholar, with that youngster, I'm asking you, would that youngster's trajectory change for the better because someone else wound up there instead of you? So I'm saying to you, never, ever can you answer that question in the negative, right? But also, if someone out there is grappling with that question, like you sitting there right now and you saying, man, Principal Kafele, he posed a real good question, a good question, man. Because now I'm wondering, am I the best option for my student? I'm closing, y'all, by answering that question. You can never question that. You got to walk into that classroom as if you walking on the field for the Super Bowl or the NBA Finals or the World Series Game 7 with the mindset that I know that I'm the best option for my student, even virtually, even on Zoom, even on Google Meet, even on this platform we're using here, StreamYard, whatever it is, you've got to know within your mind, that's called teacher efficacy. The belief that you are going to connect with those young people and take them to heights that have never been imagined, right? To the confidence that you are the one for those young people. So you got to walk into that classroom or on your computer when you log on and look at those young people, and you know that your youngsters are blessed to have you. And then you proceed in terms of who you are as teacher accordingly. So at the end of the year and the end of the process, we've got children that know I was in the best hands. I was in the most capable hands. And now here's this child as an adult years later, and that adult, someone asked him or her, how'd you become so successful? What's your story? And that child, that adult says, well, you know, back in elementary school, back in middle school, back in high school, I had this teacher that was on the Black Educators Rock Live on May 12th. I had this teacher. And that teacher stood in my corner and believed in me and pushed me and never backed down from me and just kept the fire blazing under me. And I had no choice but to be extraordinary because my teacher demanded it of me, because my teacher always knew his or her way. My teacher maintained his or her will, and my teacher kept his or her why close to the vest. With that being said, folks, once again, I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to speak to you all. And I'm going to turn this back over to my partners here, Dr. Chester and Assistant Principal Oliver.
Okay. Thank you so much, Principal. Be extraordinary. We're so very proud of you. And as a matter of fact, I am actually your poster child. You know I always tell you that, right?
Yeah.
Doc, you remember that?
And I see that poster right there. And those of you in that chat, I appreciate y'all. I see you.
Okay, I think I had Doc muted. I was muting the mic. Sorry.
You want to share Principal Kafele with me. Thank you, Big Brother Kafele, for always bringing a message that is right on time. Guys, like you said, your why is going to fuel your how. If you don't know your why, how in the heck are you going to do it? So you got to always go and you got to constantly review your why. If you don't know that why, maybe you shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Right? We shouldn't be there, yeah. So you're absolutely right. So Principal, hang out with us in backstage.
Yeah,
bring on our next practitioner. We're so excited to bring her in. So just give me a moment here. Okay, Doc, we ready for our next practitioner?
We are. You're gonna do her bio?
Yeah, her bio. Let me bring her in so they can get a chance to meet her and we can they can see what she is all about. Mrs. Jodi Wilson, thank you. We're so excited to have you here on our virtual summit. We know that you have amazing love for the children. You have dedication, you have perseverance, you have everything all in one. And I know that the children are so much better because you are their teacher.
Yes.
Am I right, Chester?
Yes.
You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much. It is such an honor to be here and to just really be in partnership and relationship with all of you. Black Educators Rock is a phenomenal organization. I came to conference first time last year and I was transformed to, I don't even know. I think I still walk around like, was that real? Did I really have that experience this summer? It was amazing to be in a room with you all and to continue to partner with you and to work with you. I'm so grateful and humbled. And I celebrate and honor you for all the work that you are doing. This summer's conference the topic couldn't be better with revolution. I actually kind of aligned it to what I'm going to talk about tonight. Because it's a time to have a new type of system to transform things, to change things up. And when we talk about equity, we've been talking about our kids or lack thereof, Black and brown kids of color, not having certain resources, but now it's like impacting a huger group of students, diverse. And so now everyone's like, oh, we really have to talk about equity. We really have to for everyone access to these. And I'm so glad you guys were leading you were at the forefront. You were the trailblazers for our kids, for our teachers, and just really getting us to recognize the power that we have as Black educators, that you have as an organization when we come together. So thank you.
Great. So let me go ahead and read Jodi's bio. Her topic for tonight is remote learning, our new normal, which is totally appropriate for today's culture and climate. Mrs. Jodi Wilson has been an educator for almost 19 years. Oh my goodness, tons of experience. Yeah. She is the co-founder of Pride Academy Charter School, and it's located in East Orange, New Jersey. So currently she is the Dean of Academics, and she teaches 7th and 8th grade science. Science girls, we rock with science. She totally believes that education is liberation and seeks to empower the scholars in her care. She said her care, in every possible way so that they can design and bring to reality the future they envision for themselves. So without further ado, we're gonna digress, Doc and I, as we allow for Mrs. Wilson to take the helm and share out with us remote learning, our new norm, okay?
And before we go, guys, Jodi was very shy on her bio. Jodi is a phenomenal educator. She is doing some amazing things at her school. And hopefully you guys should check her out. Check out her real bio. She was being the modest bio, but she is one of our favorite educators. I know you guys are going to get so much from her. So enjoy her presentation.
Okay, thank you. So everyone, first of all, just breathe. Whew, I know I'm just so excited to be here with all of you and to speak to you. If you're looking at my screen and wondering if it's a virtual background, it's really not. When COVID started, I transformed our kitchen into my little science classroom because that was really important for me, for the kids to know that school's still going on. And a few weeks in, they were like, did you go back to school, Miss Wilson? Are you in school teaching us? I was like, nope, I'm at home still in the kitchen. Because it has the best lighting. And you learn that on Zoom and Google Meet's lighting is really, really important, being away from the window or getting one of those lights. If you can't get one on Amazon, you got to deal with what you have, use a lamp or whatever to just shine that brightness and be enthusiastic and show up for your kids. So I first want to acknowledge that we are teaching and living through an extraordinary time. Principal Caffelli has challenged us so often to be extraordinary teachers, and now we're in an extraordinary circumstance where this has never happened. So to say, this is normal, it's not. This is our new normal, and I know that we're not going to go back to normal entirely. It's going to be different. It needs to be different, and this is just an excellent opportunity to do that. I want you to keep in mind that while we are teaching at home, we're still teaching through crisis. And that has to be like first and foremost to understand that and to embrace that and to really support our kids the way that they need to be supported. But first and foremost, also being kind to ourselves as teachers. It's so easy to want to give your kids a lot, and we do. We want to give them all of us and just do and do. And social media is really great at showing us the teachers who drive to someone's house to tutor them or do a drive-by for, isn't it funny how we use drive-by in a different sense these days? And it's okay to use that word and people not cringe. That's a whole other topic. But just really looking at what we're doing and know that you are enough. You are the teacher that your students need and continue to need. And you are that one consistent factor in their life right now, aside from their families, of course. But right now, you matter even so much more. And knowing that consistency as much as possible is key. Focusing on what we have, what we're able to do, and moving forward, not getting caught up in comparing yourself to other people, other teachers, but really looking at you, your dynamic, your relationship with your kids. For me, I know one thing I had to really surrender was I have 2 toddlers, and every once in a while they pop up in my classes, and I had to be okay with that. And what I learned was that it helped develop that bond with my students so much more, because they were like, oh, Miss Wilson has distractions at home. Miss Wilson's going, like, her kids pop into the video. It's not just my mom talking loud or my dad saying something or my brother or my sister, or now I have to help my mom with my siblings. So it's just a lot. Like, the more that they can see us as real, the more that we can be transparent with them really matters. So Principal Caffelli had 3 words, and I had 3 words leading into the 4th, but my 3 words were relationships, routines, and resiliency. And we talk a lot about establishing relationships, and some of us, of course, are, we have closer relationships with some students than others. Some of us, it's natural for us to develop our relationships with our students, and now more than ever, that really matters even more. And the evidence of that is how you're interacting with your students online. We have no control over what happens when they are at home. We want to touch them, we miss them, we want to see them and talk to them, but we don't have control over that. So what do we have control over is how we maintain that relationship with them as we're teaching them online. So in terms of the first question, Principal Caffelli asked it in his speech, which was, am I the teacher that my students need? And my other question comes from Dr. Akua, which is another speaker later on this week. And he talks about being a transformational teacher. And through this whole experience, I had to think about, how am I going to be a transformational teacher? How am I going to really continue my relationships? I'm that teacher that gave my kids and their families my cell phone number. I have no problem with them reaching out to me. And in all the years I've done this, I preface it by saying I've had the same phone number. I don't want to have to change my phone number at any point. So let's not abuse it. Let's regard each other. And I've never had an issue with any of my students or parents, going over the boundaries. So one way that, in terms of relationship building, is simply emailing your students, sending them a personal email. If you like to do snail mail, like I like to write letters still, I still believe in the old school mail. You can write them a letter, just a postcard. There are postcard templates. You can create one, you can type something, but just send them a personal message to let them know you're thinking about them. You can also use memes. I have some students, we communicate through memes, like literally every text message is a meme or one of those GIF images that they love. I've had students that, need that motivation to do their work. So I'll sign on to my computer, we'll have a Zoom call, but I'm not speaking, they're not speaking. We're literally just doing work and kind of hanging out online while they do their work. So figuring out that kind of routine. And what that does is it really shows that you are valuing your students and putting their needs first. Like sometimes a parent will call me, actually this past weekend being Mother's Day, and my parents knows, just things that I go through, not outlandish, but they'll say, how are your kids? How's your dad doing? Is he getting better? And I'll say, oh, wow, you really didn't call me to talk about how your kids are doing in school. It literally is to see how I'm doing. One parent asked me how my heart was doing. I was like, my heart, huh? Not just how are you, but how is your heart doing? And that really meant a lot to me. That was really amazing to have that kind of rapport with the parents and to see that. And us, even at our school, reaching out to parents, still maintaining advisory sessions with our kids, having group meetings, teachers calling students and their families, offering extended office hours just to really show kids that we support them. Making sure that we did whatever we could, that every kid had a computer that they could work from. And if they couldn't figure it out, it was, persevering through that and making sure that they got what they needed. So the relationship building is super, super important. And you can still incorporate a lot of the cultural components that are important for our kids in your live classes. When you do them on Zoom or Google Meets, you can also establish certain routines. Routines are really, really important. So at our school, we actually came up with having a 4-day week, and we have every Friday is designated as a care day. And we actually shared a document that we had gotten from another school, an international school that had a care day, because some countries are ahead of us with COVID and with remote learning. And so on our care day, we gave our kids a menu of items that they could do to connect, to either express their art, to take care of themselves, to reflect, or to show empathy towards other people, or, just for themselves. And it's on that day, which is on Fridays, like no teachers post assignments. We may check in if students need it, but we really give them that day to kind of process what's going on. Some of our kids in our community, unfortunately, have had family members that they have to care for. So they're living in it, they're seeing it. And, sometimes they'll just say, Miss Wilson, I'm just stuck. I don't even know where to start. My mom is sick. I don't they're hearing things on the news. They have questions. And so it's really important to be reassuring. So when we have live classes, I teach science. I'm doing chemistry right now with some 8th graders. And today, for instance, we did I Spy, and they had to go find, that was our opener, how you doing, our check-in. They had to go find 3 things. One was red, one was something they love, and one was something that brought them joy. And the objects that they brought back, some of them were really personal, like, oh, this was a bear that my dad gave my mom on their first date. And I like it. It keeps me happy right now. And it was just like, they were sharing things like that. I was like, wow, this was just an I Spy game, just to, kind of get us in the mood for class, so to speak. Just doing silly things with them, using a lot of like scavenger hunts, putting up images that they love, opening classes with music. Those are, music that they like. So I surveyed them, asked them what songs they liked. And, that's how sometimes we open up class. They'll be in the waiting room on Zoom and they'll hear their song playing and they get excited about that. We started doing birthday shout outs, sending messages to kids when it's their birthday and having slides up with their birthdays in our classes and just celebrating them. We also, I know I personally do awards with our kids. So because I teach science and we're doing chemistry, I'll give an award, like you get the Proton Award because you're so positive about balancing chemical equations. And that may sound cheesy, but to a kid, that's like, oh, wow, I get a Proton Award? Okay. Or you receive the Sunshine Award. Just things like that, little things that really make a difference for the kids. And what that leads to is helping them build their resiliency, knowing, sometimes people assume that our kids, especially in urban communities, maybe don't know about kindness or they don't know about being resilient. Well, our kids know about that every day. They're kind to their family members. They help take care of their brothers and sisters. Their walk to school or living, in circumstances where it's not always absolutely quiet. I had to learn that, we're all at home and just going through. Sometimes I'm teaching and one kid pops in. My dad has, Alzheimer's, and sometimes he gets into the lesson and I have to just kind of let it flow. That's part of being resilient, that you're pushing through and still teaching your lesson and still being into it. And so everybody is, going through something. Everybody has something. And I think the more that we can acknowledge that, pull our kids in closer in some way, whether we're away from them or, distance learning or not, doing a live class, that we still have that opportunity to really connect with our kids, and just listening. Listening has been really important through all of this, and just being that village. So if you're in a school, it's really important, for if you're still in school, if you can't get in touch with a kid and somebody else can, just having that communication to talk to the other teachers, to really, kind of work together to get in touch with the student that you're trying to reach, or checking in on the family. The last couple of things I want to say is to know that I can't emphasize enough how important it is for you to really take care of you. And it's okay for you to have days where it's like, you know what, the most productive thing I did today was get up, get dressed, I ate breakfast, I taught my class, and that was the most productive. Don't get all caught up. I know, in the beginning, I was caught up with people who are like learning different languages, and they were picking up hobbies and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, wow, I'm going to get all these books so I can feel productive. And I've not been able to get through one book, just because there's so much to think about. And just moving forward in terms of thinking about hope, if you have hope, that leads you to have faith. And faith in yourself as a teacher, faith in yourself, going back to your why, as to why you really entered the field of education. And, moving forward, yes, we're going through this pandemic right now, and we're going through it together. But moving forward, it's going to be really, really urgent that we are establishing those relationships. It can't just be you go back to school and let's get back into testing and let's catch you up on what you're missing. The relationship building is going to be even more critical, and connecting to people such as educators, in this organization, Black Educators Rock, is a great starting point. I can't emphasize that enough. Just a wealth of knowledge and expertise that is here, and connect, whatever you're doing, sharing it. So if you have great practices, being that helper, being that person that can share with other people what they can do, what you're doing, and really us being a village, because at the end of the day, we're all going to have to recover our students and heal them educationally, emotionally after this pandemic. And that is one of the blessings, I think, is that this pandemic is calling us to be better people, calling us to be better teachers, better parents, just better in general. And the fact that you're here listening, the fact that you just have that desire to, let me try this new app that I don't really know, or I'm not really comfortable with technology, let me try it. That means that your why is still pretty present, and it's very powerful. And the more you can really understand that you are the teacher that your scholars need, that they're in your care, the families we serve, that keeps you going. For me, I look at my two kids and I'm like, if I don't teach our students, I'm going to fail our kids, meaning my biological kids. And I don't want to fail my bonus kids, all 288 of them, or even before that. And maybe some of you even have alumni who've reached out to you because, they're going through things too. So I just encourage you to keep hoping, to keep believing, keep doing what you're doing, because you are phenomenal. And if you don't feel phenomenal, find someone that really knows you and that can give you not the what you want to hear talk, but the what you need, and really be that voice for you and that source that can lift you up. Because at the end of the day, human connection is super important, and we can use that to lift each other up. So find your circle, find those that will uplift you and really help you move forward through this. But keep in mind that your kids love you, that they're going through it too, and you're not alone. And we will get through this. Every storm runs out of rain eventually. And the last quote I want to share is from our favorite neighbor, Mr. Rogers. And he said, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. you will always find people who are helping. And if anything, that's, something to look out for. Be purposeful in looking out for the good. Be purposeful in celebrating the blessings that you have. It may look different. Thinking already how children's books are going to look different because, they just see people with masks. But there are good things happening in the midst of this. So focus on that. And I think my time is about up. So I didn't want to go over and keep talking, but I'm not sure. So hopefully you got something out of what I shared with you.
Yes, we did. Thank you so much, Jodi.
Jodi, I just want to tell you how very grateful we are for you to take out time and share those wonderful tenets. And as I was reflecting on what you were saying about relationship, I have a very dear advocate, mentor. He always says there's no ship like relationship. And truly, that's the bedrock of Black Educators Rock. Our belief in people, our belief in humanity, and the power of relationships. There's no other greater asset than to have a good friend in your corner. For example, I had some great friends texting me now telling me to change the name. So, I'm grateful for LaRue. He's texting me in my chat, and Altamise and Doc texting me behind the scenes. Tracy, he was calling me. So, just an awesome testament to surrounding yourself with people who is deeply, authentically, unfeignedly embedded in building you and building your capacity. And you're truly an asset to education and to our children who are within our community, and we so very appreciate you. So hang around. We're gonna bring you back in, yeah. Hang around backstage. We'll bring you back in for some final thoughts. And once again, thank you. So I am going to put Doc and I back on the screen. So Doc, what about Miss Jodi Wilson? How about her?
So you don't know, but when people are a part of Black Educators Rock, we have nicknames and pet names and
Right.
sisters and brothers, and she's just one of those people that so Simone Walden, I call her Firefly, and because she's just always bringing light, like she's just always bringing light. And Jodi is another one of those people who I just feel like it's always just, her love is just it's effortless.
Right.
It's always flowing out, and you can just, it's palpable. Like she's so authentic, and it is so phenomenal to be around such authentic, loving educators. And she's just
absolutely. You remember the first time she met us? She was so excited.
It was so cute. I was like, "How? I'm excited." She and Simone remind me of each other because again, they're just authentically pure. There's this purity to them that a lot of people have. A lot of us don't have that level of pureness that they have, and I'm just always attracted to it. So yes.
Yes, we are. We're all about being authentic and being straight from the hip, aren't we? Yeah. So let's go ahead and bring in our next person. So I did send you some information. Yes, ma'am. So if you'll do that function and I'll do the other function.
Yes, ma'am. Gotcha. Teamwork makes the dream work, baby.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Okay, so here we are.
Hey, little brother.
Hey.
So you guys heard me say that Principal Gafele was my big brother. Well, this is my little brother. From the moment that I met him, I fell in love with him. You guys heard me talk about him last week when I said that he is energy personified. Like he's just this. His energy is infectious. And so I have the privilege of reading his short bio. Guys, they shared a short bio. They don't have time to talk about all the great things they do.
Right.
We're going to read a short bio, and then my little brother, Damien Howard, is going to pour into us a little bit. And so Damien Howard is the Director of Education Initiatives with Together Chicago. And he is the founder of a character development company, Clever Characters. With an aspiration for education reform in Chicago, emphasizing character development and academic improvement, Damien and his team serve 20 schools and several organizations on the south and west sides of Chicago. Damien's motto is, once we change who we are, we can achieve things greater than what we have ever imagined. And so without further ado, Damien, what is the title of your presentation tonight?
activating character for life fulfillment.
Ooh. Life fulfillment, right? Ooh. Not just today, not just next week, but
right.
Life fulfillment.
Activating character for life fulfillment.
Yes, life fulfillment. So, Damien, I want to make sure. I think you're coming in shaky. I want to make sure they get all of you. So, do you see that too, Tracy? Where he's kind of
he's blurred a little bit.
We want to make sure they hear all your words. So you're coming in a little. I don't know if your area where you are, but you're coming in distorted, and we're not hearing everything you're saying. But I need for them to hear everything you have to say.
Absolutely.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Is that better?
We can hear you. We can hear you. We just can't see you. Like your picture's blurry.
A little blurry.
Ooh. Do we want to skip to Principal Presley and just troubleshoot here and jump back to 15 or what?
So we can hear you fine, but they just can't see that cute face all clear.
I know.
So, that little handsome face, they don't get that full effect. So we're gonna let you do what you do. I'm not gonna hold you. I'm gonna let you do what you do because I know all of us have busy schedules. So without further ado, we're gonna turn it over to you.
Absolutely.
Right.
So what is up, educators? I am sorry, y'all, that there seems to be some visual things going on here. And for the team who is here present right now, if y'all just kind of help me in the chat to really know if things are improving. If you all can see my visuals, I'm going to definitely share my screen momentarily here. And it'll just be really good to know where we are in this space. Hey, y'all, they didn't mess around and let your Southside homeboy in the building. I am so glad, so grateful to be here. I'm going to go ahead and try to get this little screen sharing thing going so that we can get into a conversation concerning character. If Tracy, if you could just jump back in there, let me know if y'all see my screen because I'm sharing this thing and I can't see y'all. I need somebody to talk to your boy. Let me know I'm all good here.
Okay.
We're good?
Yeah, let me go ahead and share it for you. Here we are. Can you see it, Damien?
So I'm looking just at my screen. I have it on presentation mode. So if you're telling me we're good, we're just going to jump straight into it.
Yeah, we can see it. I'm gonna go ahead and get out your presentation.
Perfect. You all. So this conversation that we're having today is centered upon us activating character for the sake of being able to get greater fulfillment in life. And I love that introduction that Doc was able to provide at the beginning of my time talking, because there was a sense of me really wanting to clarify how important and how really awesome this opportunity is. That when we think about, here's the terminology, social and emotional learning as something that we don't get so that we can give it to the shorties, but we look at social and emotional learning, and the nomenclature that I'm using today is character development. When we look at that field as something that I am embracing and getting for the sake of developing myself, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? It becomes a game changer in your lived experience, an absolute game changer. And that is really the thing with the very limited time that I have today that I want to make an impression upon you to know and to believe today. That SEL once more isn't something that I get to give, but it's something that I get to change and impact and maximize my own life. So when I get into this conversation concerning this character activation wheel, this wheel is a metaphor for your lived experience. And here's the question that I ask teachers when I go into schools all across Chicago and beyond. Based on the way that you're investing into yourself, perpetually and habitually, are you seeing more progress? And, or if you all look at this other word, are you seeing destruction in your lived experience with your relationships, with your pedagogy, with the way even emotionally that you feel, right? When you see destruction rising up, the conversation that I want to have with educators is that one thing that can be very helpful for us is for us to check the investment that we're making into our own character. Why in the world does Damien really prioritize this is the conversation that I'm having with teachers when I'm pushing into schools, that I'm having with parents as I'm pushing into schools to support parent populations as well? I prioritize this, you all, hear this point, because this has been the game changer in my own lived experience. When I got to a place whereby I got really serious about investing in my character and being disgusted with every piece of destruction that was happening in my space, right? And started seeing this wheel move in a more accelerated manner in the direction of progress, y'all, all of my life was upgraded. And that's absolutely what I want for every teacher across the globe, every teacher that's connected to the Black Educators Rock movement. Y'all, check this out. I got to pause the character activation wheel real quick because some of you all might have come to this space today just really asking, pondering, and wondering, how do I incorporate SEL into my remote learning platform? Now, as I've been looking at research on adverse childhood experiences, as I've been thinking about the power of nurturing figures in the lives of kids to positively impact the negative stuff that has happened to them because of that trauma from their past, I looked at all of that stuff, right? I put it all in the bag, right? And then out of that bag came what I call the SEL mentoring method. So, y'all, this ain't nothing that I can patent or nothing I can put my name on and say, yo, I'm the only one who came up with this stuff. But I'm looking at all of the amazing things that are out there in the space of social and emotional learning, namely character development. And these are the things that keep jumping out to me as the most effective strategies that we can deploy to make sure that we're consistently finding opportunity and time to do adequate check-ins when it comes to the mental health and the emotional well-being of not only our kids, y'all got to hear what I'm talking about today, but of ourselves. So when we talk about mindfulness, I just want to add a little subtle caveat today. Typically, when we talk about mindfulness, and at least in the way that I hear it, it's a relaxant, right? Let's kind of woosah for a moment. Let's kind of calm down for a moment, right? So that we can get prepared and ready for what it is that's coming up. But oftentimes when I'm coming into spaces, what did Doc say? She said, this boy is instant energy. I don't play with it. I come in there with stimulating practices as well. Because sometimes either for our young people or either for ourselves, we don't need to be more relaxed. We might need to be stimulated. We might need a joke. We might need to get that thing on and popping in that moment. So for me, practices that help us to be present in the moment can either be relaxing practices or stimulating practices. Now, every week we have topics that we raise up as SEL themes, and from conversations that we have with young people to celebrate their agency, to lift up their voice. From those conversations, we grow skills as a classroom. Yeah, I got videos and content stuff on all of this. I can't get into it. What I'm trying to do, though, is make SEL something that's so simple that all of my educators who are desiring some strategies today to say, I want to be able to incorporate this with increased fidelity into the work that I'm doing. Y'all, listen, look at this next one. Classroom affirmations. And with these affirmations, it's just as simple as creating space and opportunity to lift up positivity, to lift up, positive things or just anything that you want to call out in your peers. This is something that I've seen done so wonderfully in e-learning spaces that we have teachers that are saying, hey, because, they're intentional about this affirmation piece. Hey, yo, like, I'm looking at that shirt you rocking, and that shirt is off. It's just as simple as that. Let's not make SEL something that has to be so difficult to incorporate. I'm the type, whereas I want to make it so simple that nobody can use an excuse from this day forward that I cannot implement SEL practices into my normal rhythm as a classroom teacher and or as a parent. And then lastly, we have a plethora of different options that we can use for what I call activation activities to really go beyond conversation and utilize different things that the kids are already interested in to really kind of steep these things and steep these skills into their psyche. Y'all got to blitz through that thing. I just wanted to share real quick. My mantra, once we change who we are, y'all better hear me today, we can achieve things that are greater than what we have ever imagined. I got to say this thing again. This is exactly what I long for and what I desire for every teacher under the sound of my voice. Because as I'm going into different spaces and I look at some of my colleagues, I don't see this. I don't see us living our best life. I don't see us living that life whereas we are massively fulfilled. And that's why, I've been looking at this thing, remixing my strategies. And over time, I've gotten to this point where I'm like, okay, when I go into them spaces, we talking about character. So let me raise up this character activation real quick. And then I'm gonna have to get on up out of y'all way. With the character activation wheel, there are three massively important components that we have to make sure that we're tapping into in a habitual, perpetual manner so that we can make sure that this wheel is moving in what direction? Not a destructive direction where we see destruction popping off in our lives. in so many different spaces in so many different ways, but we want to see progress manifesting in our lived experience, relationally, with our pedagogy, with the way that we teach, on the home front, in the community, in every space that we find ourselves in. That's why character activation and this character activation wheel concept is massively important. So the first thing that you all see here at the top of the wheel is state. State pretty much speaks to your beliefs and your emotions. In so many different spaces, when I raise up state and I ask, yo, like, why is this important? More than ever before, when I'm starting to hear people say and respond to that question, is by saying, yo, state is foundational. Your beliefs, your emotional state, and how you are emotionally is going to drive all of your life. So here's my question, educators. Here's my question, everybody who's watching this thing today. How intentional are you in investing in your state? If it's really foundational, if all the rest of life is going to be driven based on the dynamics of our beliefs, on our mental, based on our mental state, based on our emotional state, how much are you investing in your state? How are you investing in your state? Very quickly. Sometimes when I start to feel like coming to spaces like this isn't possible, that I can't show up as the best version of myself, I got to turn on my brother Les Brown, because in almost all of his different clips on YouTube, it's all free. I just type Les Brown on so many of those different clips. This is what I hear him saying. 2 words: it's possible. So in order to make sure I have my state right, I am intentionally finding resources that I can invest into my psyche, invest into my life, that helps me to get exactly what it is that I need. I wasn't going to spend any time on state, but I got to call out Eric Thomas as well, because sometimes when I feel like I'm less than, again, that person that God has made me to be, that shows up in such a massive, grandiose type of way that's impacting positive change. When I feel less than that, I turned on Eric Thomas. He like, dude, you a lion. You ain't no gazelle to go and get chased and get gobbled up. Know who you are, know your worth, right? So I have different resources that I tap into to invest in my own personal state, because state is indeed foundational. The rest of your life is going to be driven based on your beliefs of self and also your emotional well-being. Habits are just these routine behaviors. Here it is. If you want less destruction, how important is it for you to start changing those habits? I wish I can talk about it, but when I'm in spaces and I'm asking different questions, y'all see I lead with questions, because my whole thing is I'm not the sage on the stage. I want to be a guide alongside. So when I'm in certain spaces and I ask them, okay, if you see that destruction is popping off, when do you think you need to start doing the work of changing some of those habits that make your lived experience consistently what it has been? And I get all type of answers, but the answer that I'm looking for is it has to be important enough for you to start changing those habits right now. I want teachers to be whole. I want teachers to be well. And therefore, I'm always prioritizing habits and asking them about the habits that they are allowing to perpetuate in their lived experience, because the rest of life as well is going to be influenced by those habits. All right. So self-knowledge really is what I want to get into for the rest of our time today, rest of my time. And for self-knowledge, it breaks down into an acronym. As you all see, that acronym is strength. H represents heart or your passions. A is for affirmations. P, personality. And E, experiences. So I want to stop sharing my screen so I can just kind of look at y'all and look at the people. All right. So if y'all can help me real quick with this acronym shape, I'm gonna hit it, and then I'm gonna get all the way out of y'all way. So S, strengths. So many of us, we got these little mini devices in our pockets, these mini computers. At what point are we doing the work of finding more information concerning ourselves and investing in ourselves in that way that we're building our strengths? I got to blitz through it. That H, what's on your heart? What's driving your passion? Right? What are you passionate about? So many of us, that's a question mark. We don't have an answer to that question. COVID-19 presents an amazing opportunity for each of the educators under the sound of my voice listening to me right now to investigate, what are you passionate about? Hey, that A, when I say affirmations, these are the things that other people consistently say about you. So like, I'm even looking at all of the comments that people are saying about Jodi as she is sharing. And I hope that she goes back and looks at those comments, because it's very important for, as a part of our reflective process, to actually ask ourselves, what are maybe some of those super strengths that people are seeing in me that I need to know, at least that I need to even know more of myself, y'all. I'm getting through this thing. P, personality. An Enneagram assessment is one that I found very helpful. Get insight about your own personality, because that's really going to help you to learn more about yourself. Lastly, E, lived experiences. And I got to pause with this. Y'all talking to a homie from the South Side of Chicago. I didn't come up in the best of conditions, but what I've come to learn, because I invest in my shape, I take time to pull out my personal device and learn about myself so that I can tap into my superpower. Listen, what I've learned about myself is that those lived experiences are a part of my brilliance. And me growing up the way I did helped me to become resilient. Therefore, it's really not too much that y'all can say to me and or about me that's go kind of take me off my square. It's really not too much y'all can say to me and or about me that's going to limit my capacity and my ability to bless the world with who I am. Y'all, I wish it was, more opportunity and time for me to get into this thing, but I'm going to stop there because I am definitely cognizant of the next powerhouse that we got coming after me. So I'm going to kill it with that. Love y'all. Invest in your character for life fulfillment.
That's why that's my, he said it a nice way, but like he said, yes, when you've been in the fire, those of us who have been burned in the fire and we've come out, like that's a part of our character, and that's a part of what makes us great. And I love that you said that, Damien, because a lot of us go through traumas and we go to things and we want to look at those things as negative, but those things have positively impacted us when we come out on the other side, and let us share those experiences with others and allow us to have those living testimonies. So thank you, little brother, for that.
So Dean, excellent. Hold up, excellent job. You know what I always tell my children at school? I tell them I'm a superhero at night.
All day.
Because I build my dream at night. So I was just so moved about the things that you were saying about how you take your challenges, and you like me and Doc say, we don't get better, we get better.
Oh, right. It ain't a loss, it's a lesson. Y'all better stop playing with me in here.
We don't get better, we get better. And so
we never lose. Either we win or we learn. Either we win or we learn.
Yeah.
Never lose. Yeah. Never lose. But here's the thing. We need our educators to realize that and know that about themselves, y'all. Either what you say, Doc, you live.
Never lose. Either you win or you learn. You never take fail. We don't take losses.
Y'all know we'll go all day.
Yeah.
So Damien, you're just so invaluable. You've helped us so much with Black Educators Rock. You did so many things for us, and we're just so happy to have you here and for you to take out your time. That's your time going off right there. So
it was great.
It was good.
Thank you so much for hosting the 4th annual Rock Conference. You guys didn't get a chance to see him and Dr. Sharon Porter around there doing interviews, and I mean, it was lit. And we have the videos on Black Educators Rock. You can always go to our website or our page to look at some of our footage, but he was phenomenal this past summer. We were so looking forward to it happening, but it'll be happening virtually. So it's still happening. Yes.
God be the glory. Thank y'all for having me here. Peace out, everybody.
Yeah. So hang out backstage, D. We'll bring you back soon.
All right.
Okay, Doc. So we're down to last but not least, certainly not least, one of our signature powerhouses. Within our cadre, we're honored and to have him to come on. So I'm gonna bring him on, Doc, and I'm gonna let you introduce the man of the hour.
Yes.
There he is.
One of my big brothers, y'all. I got some awesome big brothers, y'all. They handsome, but they're all taken. Let me put that taken. Little brothers are all taken. Well,
all taken.
Only two. I'll let you know when they come through, but this is not one of them.
No, he ain't one of them.
I actually met Principal Presley through his wonderful, beautiful wife. I met through our messenger. She was telling me how her husband was doing these great things, and I was like, hey, we got to get him to the Rock Conference. And so a few years ago, he came down to Orlando, and he presented, and I was so impacted by who he is, the person that he is, the administrator, the coach, just the man that many of you may know that I lost my mentor. Like that year I had actually lost my mentor, was the reason that I am Dr. Chester and I do the things I do. And I was actually introducing an inaugural award in his name, Dr. Joseph P. Ramsey, who was my professor at FAMU. And Principal Presley was my inaugural recipient of that award. It's the very first award I gave out at Black Educators Rock. And he was the recipient because he was such an embodiment of who I felt my mentor was. And I've been in love with him and Yolanda ever since. So,
Amen.
yeah.
Yes.
And so without further ado, I'm going to read his bio, and then he's going to share with you a little bit. So Principal Presley is leading the mandate of creating a culture that helps students to strive for a positive RAAP, RAAP, and shift from students to scholars at Summer Prep Academy. Principal Presley believes that a highly effective school culture includes a culture of vision, recognition, celebration and learning, support, and empowerment. Principal Presley's leadership has produced a positive response education program, or PREP, that focuses on teaching academics and building relationships. The PBIS program has received international, national, state, and local recognition. So Principal Presley is going to be talking to us tonight about the power of PBIS in a pandemic, pressing beyond isolation and seclusion.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Chester and Assistant Principal Oliver, and to all of those who are watching. It's an honor to be here. I am just amazed with the speakers who have spoken into our educational lives and in our personal lives. I want to thank you all for this opportunity. Let's get into it. As Dr. Chester stated, I'm here to speak for about 15 minutes on PBIS. And I flipped PBIS a little bit for this because I'm not here to talk about positive behavior interventions and supports. I'm here to talk about how to press beyond isolation and seclusion. That's what I'm here to talk about. That's the PBIS that we're going to speak on tonight. Pressing beyond isolation and seclusion. So I want to jump right in. I'm just going to speak to you. I hope and I trust that you will receive some nuggets that will help you to close out this school year, but also to prepare for the upcoming year that many of us have questions about in our minds about how that's going to look. And is this really our new normal? Is this really something that we're going to have to shift into? But before I get into that, let me just say this. This pandemic has literally presented the best of times and the worst of times all at the same time. And it has provoked innovative leadership in many of us, if not all of us. And if it hasn't, it will in the days, the weeks, and the months to come. But my assignment tonight is to talk about something that many have not talked about. What do you do when the students that you are called to take to the next level has isolated and secluded themselves and are not connected to our distant learning platforms? They have isolated themselves. They are not responding. They are missing in action. We have been doing distant learning for about 8 weeks in my district, and I'm proud to say after 8 weeks we have 86% of students completing and submitting assignments through our distant learning platforms. But that was not how this thing started out. There were 3 areas that I discovered immediately as a leader of a faculty and a staff who believed in my voice. For 6 years, we were building cultures, the 6 cultures that Dr. Chester spoke about in the introduction in my bio. We were building it. We were on it. We were taking it to the next level. I had so many things lined up for this school and for these scholars when they return from spring break, only to be in a situation just as we are in right now. I see Dr. Oliver back in the room.
So principal, yeah, I just want to kind of do a sound check. For some reason, it was some static that was going through, and our viewers are making comments on our feed. So I'm gonna pop back out and see if that will kind of improve it. Okay. So let me see. You're sounding better now that I'm in.
I'll look for the messages.
Okay.
So maybe you ought to stay in.
No, I don't want to be in.
Are we good?
Let me pop out and see.
Damien says stay there.
Okay,
Jodi
Damien says
stay in.
Okay, so I'll do
so
that.
I don't know how much you all lost, but what I was saying was I want to speak to our students that have been isolating and secluding themselves. They are not connected to our distant learning platforms. They are missing in action. We are having difficult times reaching them. After 8 weeks, we can proudly say, after the work that we put in, that we have 86% of our students completing and submitting assignments to our platforms. But that's not how things started. We quickly discovered that COVID-19, this pandemic, was measuring our relationships. It was measuring those things that we had been building for 6 years. It was measuring those cultures, but most so it was measuring the relationships that we had with our students and our scholars. So, what do you do when you're in a shift in a new territory? You're in a new situation, and you're learning as you go. You're flying the plane, as they say, or building the plane as you fly it, as they say. And students are not connecting with a wonderful content platform that we have put together. We literally had about 2 days to build our distant learning continuing education platform. And that's a shout out to educators that we were under the gun by our districts and our states to come up with platforms for students to learn. But what do you do when you have a great product, but students have isolated themselves? Then it's time to press. It's time for us to press beyond isolation and seclusion. So how did we do that? I want to start by saying this, that 86% was good, but it wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. That 14% of students who were not connecting to our platforms, were not submitting assignments, those 14% of the students, those 14% became relevant. So there's 3 areas that I quickly, as a leader, realized that we needed to implement, not just for this, to end this school year, to end the 3rd 9 weeks and the 4th 9 weeks, but as an innovative leader, it was my responsibility, and it is our responsibility, to prepare for the year that's coming. And that meant that I had to have our faculty and staff plan for students coming back to school, and have a plan for students if they don't come back to school, and learn some of these lessons. So there were 3 areas that I learned that we needed to implement in order to reach all of our students. And that is comfort, collaboration, and connectivity. Comfort, collaboration, and connectivity. So let's talk about comfort. As I began to lead the school, I discovered that someone said you must Maslow before you bloom. I discovered you must Maslow before you Zoom. That students that were not accustomed to distant learning platforms were not going to automatically just connect with us because we had this great tool. So point number 1 is we must all understand that we must Maslow before we Zoom. So what does that mean? That means that if we're not concerned with the wellness of our students. If we're not concerned with the wellness of our students, then we will find out that many of them will not respond to them because of content only. So let me say this. Content, yes, that's what we do as educators. We're here to teach and we're here to instruct. But comfort and care must be a part of the equation, or we're going to find ourselves that students will become more distant even as we try to introduce them to distant learning. And we don't want that. We don't desire that. So what am I saying to you as relates to comfort? During this time of closing out this school year, I would recommend, highly recommend, that we consider having summer school to address the trauma that many of our students have experienced during this COVID-19 closing of schools. It's important because when students return, and they will return, what shape are they going to be in when they return to our schools, and what supports will we have in place to deal with the trauma that they've experienced while they were out of school? That's very relevant. And if you are an innovative leader, then you should be thinking on those lines. You should not be just be thinking on the content courses and all of those things as relates to our day-to-day job as instructional leaders. What state are these students going to be when they come back to school? And we could go on and on and on about that. But what I'm doing is I'm already preparing and trying to put plans in place to have some form of summer school for trauma. That we are not going to do summer school only for promotional requirements, but also for trauma, to address and deal with the trauma that many of our students have experienced since our schools being closed. We were, in most cases, the third eye. We were the third person to stop or to support students that were being abused. Can you imagine students that were counting on school officials to be the third eye to recognize and report abuse? Can you imagine the type of trauma many of them are experiencing when the abuse is in the home that they're isolated and secluded in? So there must be some form of leadership that says we must address trauma. Number two, I'm gonna say connectivity because my time is running short, and I really want to talk about connectivity. Connectivity as a strategy in COVID-19 is key because in a pandemic, our unity will be our biggest strategy, our most effective strategy. Our ability to unite will be our most effective strategy to be effective for the upcoming school year, and I dare say to close out this school year. We must be we must be on one accord, we must be in one voice and one sound. One accord, one voice, and one sound. When we were building our COVID-19 instructional expectations, that's what I put on the board. Before we design any type of content, we must all agree, faculty, staff, and administration must agree that we are going to be on one accord. We're going to have one voice and one sound when we leave this room. That we're not going to have schisms that leave the room and dissect everything or undo everything that we're doing to try to reach our students when schools close. So, comfort and care, connectivity, and collaboration. We quickly discovered that some teachers had stronger relationships with students than others, and that became very key in collaboration. We decided, and we will continue to implement this strategy. We started out trying to reach students individually. Teachers would try to reach all 7 of their classes and try to get kids connected, and that was not working. We were at probably about under 33% the first 2 weeks of COVID-19 instruction. We only had 33% of our students completing and submitting assignments. And I rallied the troops. I said, listen, we're doing something wrong because the students were coming to school and engaged with us, and 2 weeks should not erode that effort. So we discovered that instead of having 7 teachers call into parents' homes, we discovered that many of the parents had multiple students in those homes, and they were getting 7 calls from a teacher in elementary for their elementary student, 7 calls from teachers, 7 teachers for students in their middle school classes, 7 calls from teachers of their high school student, and we were overwhelming the houses that we were trying to connect with. So we had to bring that effort in and become one voice and one sound. So when we started doing our team meetings, we all would collaborate by having all the teachers on the team called together to speak once. Not 7 different times during the school day, but once. We narrowed it down to one period where teachers would all come into that team meeting to speak to the students that were invited into those team meetings, because we were overwhelming the families that we were trying to reach. And that was not very effective. So we decided to collaborate. We also learned how our parent relationships were, if they were strong, if they were weak, if they were average, if they were above average, if they were below average. And 6 years ago, we established a culture built on a 3-to-1 ratio. And that 3-to-1 ratio had to do with recognizing and celebrating students, but also informing parents of that recognition. So for 6 years, we would call parents 3 times for positive behaviors to every 1 phone call for negative behaviors weekly. We would celebrate students 3 times as much for positive behaviors to every 1 negative write-up for inappropriate behaviors weekly. So we built in our culture weekly recognition and weekly parent communication so that COVID-19, we were set and ready. And let me say this, the state of Florida, and I'm gonna close with this, I think along with comfort, connectivity, and collaboration, I think we also need to implement compassion and grace. Let me say that again. I think we need to implement compassion and grace as relates to grading of assignments. Let me just let that marinate for a minute. Compassion and grace means that because of the situation we're in, where people are literally concerned about the livelihood of those living in their homes, there is no way that we should be assigning a 0 for missing assignments during this COVID-19 season. There is absolutely no way that we should be assigning zeros. Our compassion and grace should be that the lowest F we will give will be the highest F that we can give. For example, if your grading scale says that the F grade starts at a 0 to a 59, those students should be receiving a 59 under compassion and grace. That is saying we are in a pandemic. We are in a national global war with a disease. And many of those families where students' parents have been laid off, they deserve our compassion and our grace. And one of the things we also did was any assignment that was submitted received no lower than a 70% on that assignment, no matter how much of it was completed or not completed. We use compassion and grace to grade our students because of the trauma that they may be experiencing inside the homes with this COVID-19 pandemic. I'm going to end with that and say that I hope you received some nuggets. Obviously, we're going to go deeper in July during the conference. We just wanted to come on and just encourage you and provide you with some strategies moving forward that you'll be able to utilize to close out this school year and start the next school year. And thank you for this opportunity and this time. And like I said, I hope you receive some type of nugget to help.
Oh my goodness, Principal, I'm so excited. I just I've got chills up and down my spine. You know, I work with the middle school platform, and as a matter of fact, I had to speak with one of my teachers about grading and wanting to fail the child. And I was like, how in the world can we do that? We need to talk about this. So compassion and grace teachers, if you can take one nugget, please understand that we're in a global pandemic. No child should be failing, and we need to implement passion and grace. I know for a fact my teachers want me to be gracious to them. They're always asking for my grace, but I see them share it out with the children, and it's so important that we actually do that. Thank you so much.
And kudos to you for having that high percentage, and you know, and that's when you know you're talking about a somebody who has found their why. He stated that 86% is not enough. It's not high. Yeah. There are so many people who will be over the moon about 86%, and here you are saying it's not enough. And I just thank you for those parents that you're serving, for those educators who you're pouring into and helping them to become better educators. And it's a reason why you're one of my favorites. I mean,
yeah,
having Black men who care about our Black babies is just nothing like it. Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Doc, I'm gonna bring everybody in so that they can have some final says.
Y'all know I had to come in like a character.
You know. And you guys, this is just the first night. You guys, there's more to come, right? We still have Wednesday and Thursday night. This is just night one. It's a 3-night ensemble that we put together that these practitioners and experts have poured into you guys just on the house. Just want to see you guys, you know, helping you to just end that school year the correct way. And so, again, Black Educators Rock, we always brag. We have the best practitioners, best educators, and no party like a Black Educators Rock party. And if you're not a part of it, why?
You gotta be there. So let's go around and have some final thoughts from everybody before we actually close out. We'll have Dr. to say the final words, but I would like to hear some final thoughts from everybody.
What order? Is there anybody? Are you going to call them out?
I guess we'll go ahead and start with.
Let's start with ladies first. Let's start with Jodi.
Miss Jodi.
Okay. I received so many notes. I have my little notebook here, and it's filled with just lots of info from everybody. So I'm excited for the next 2 nights. Thank you for putting it together and just being able to talk to educators, to talk to each other, learn from each other. I think that's also when you talk about compassion and grace, Principal Presley, that we have to be humble to learn from our students during this time and to learn from our teachers and to listen to each other and just to show that compassion and grace to each other. So I think that's really important. And, you know, just if anybody wants information about some of our practices with building relationships, connecting with our scholars online, facilitating lessons, I can be reached on Facebook or Instagram, or if you tag, I'll put my email and, you know, upload some stuff to our page. I could send it to Tracy and Doc, and they can do that because we're Ubuntu, right? I am because we are, and you are because I am. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Howard, Mr. Damien.
Absolutely. One of the things that I shared that's a vital part of us really focusing on character is our habits. And when I discuss habits, one interesting dynamic is anytime when there's a crisis moment, that's when people have the ability and the ingenuity to become flexible. Those things that maybe you thought were not possible before, based on the fact that it's important enough, it's crisis mode. Now it's like I tap into a new level of creativity to figure things out. So I just want to just offer that to everybody who is checking in. Yo, we are literally in the midst of a very interesting moment for some, a very trying time. And I just pray that we have the perspective to see this as an opportunity for us to be more flexible than we've ever been before. To just new ingenuity, new creativity, new businesses are going to pop out with some of our entrepreneurs. So I'm just excited for the perspective that we're building in this space. Thank you all so much for having me tonight.
Thank you so much. So Principal Presley.
Yeah, I just wanted to close with this thing to leaders, school building leaders, principals, assistant principals, deans, whatever your title may be in leadership, to really monitor. I tell you what, my job as far as monitoring what's going on in my school during COVID-19 to make sure my babies were not slipping under the cracks and somebody had their foot on their neck in the grade book. I was in those grade books. And look, every time I saw something that was not compassion and grace, I was like, team call. Can you tell me why the grades below? We have to monitor because I'm gonna leave you with this. People do not do what we expect, they do what we monitor.
Right. I remember you saying that last time.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. So the godfather of Principal Kafele. Final thoughts. Is he muted?
He muted himself?
No, I didn't mute myself.
Oh, there you go.
Tracy muted.
Appreciate that, Tracy. I just had a good time, sitting here listening to my three colleagues for the past whatever amount of time we've been on here. Just a lot of great information, three different perspectives, and it's just a good night. I'm looking forward to tomorrow night and taking in what my colleagues that present tomorrow have to say. I'm going to use this opportunity. I'm an author, y'all, and I have a book that came out yesterday. It's my 11th book. It's entitled The Assistant Principal 50, subtitled Critical Questions for Meaningful Leadership and Professional Growth. I tend to have certain focus on different things throughout different phases of my journey. And right now I'm in a season where my focus is on assistant principals. So I wrote this book and I'm doing an 18-week free virtual Assistant Principal Leadership Academy every Saturday morning at 11 o'clock Eastern, which you can get on Twitter Live and Facebook Live. Just go to my page and refresh at 11 o'clock and my shining face will be right there waiting for you. And we just talk assistant principal leadership specifically. So come and join me on Saturday. Every Saturday up until August 29th. We're going every Saturday, 18 consecutive weeks. We're going into week 3 this week. Other than that, Black Educators Rock, we're doing big things. We've come a long way from the beginning, which was just a Facebook group. And now it's big time with a whole lot of just things going on in all different directions, and I'm just glad to be a part of it. See you all tomorrow night.
All right, so I'm gonna say my little piece, and then I have Dr. close us out. Principal Presley, tomorrow when I speak with my particular teacher, I will say we need to practice grading with grace. So that will be my practical takeaway for tomorrow when I meet with this young man. So Dr. Chester, if you can tell us a little bit about tomorrow's event and then just pretty much close us out.
Okay. Just want to first just thank again, guys. Black Educators Rock is, as Jodi said, I am because we are, because you are. And so Black Educators Rock is nothing without the phenomenal team and professionals and entrepreneurs, edupreneurs, practitioners, experts who contribute to Black Educators Rock. But the great thing is our family is always accepting new family members. So you're always welcome. And so again, we're so much more than a Facebook group. Know that we are a national nonprofit, that we have local chapters all across the country. We host an annual conference that will be virtual this year in July, July 30th through August 2nd. What we decided to do at this moment in this space in place is the brainchild of Miss Tracy Oliver is have the virtual closing of school summit. And so tomorrow night, we will have 3 more professionals who will come and pour into you guys. And that will be my silent storm, Mr. Sean Hurt, Principal Sean Hurt, who will be coming out of Detroit, Michigan. We have Mr. Eric Cork, who is, he's a writer. He's a phenomenal writer that, oh my God, he's phenomenal. And we have the godfather of cultural relevancy as it relates to Black Educators Rock, Dr. Chika Akua. And so that is who our lineup is tomorrow night. Be here. Be there, be square. Don't be tardy to the party, because we're gonna have those individuals on here, and they're gonna also pour into you tomorrow night. And so with that being said, again, thank you guys for everything that you guys have done to help Black Educators Rock to become the burgeoning nonprofit that it is. We are on our way to 5 years, and we have some big things, as my big brother, Principal Kapele, said, in store. You guys look out, because 2020 is going to be a year of firsts. This pandemic has caused us to innovate, as Dr. Jackson says, innovate or evaporate. And so we are becoming quite innovative as it relates to a nonprofit. And we have some things that we'll be sharing with you in the very near future. And we're so excited about all of you guys who tuned in tonight. Make sure you tell a friend to tell a friend and tell a friend. And make sure you guys join us tomorrow night. We'll be here same time, same bat place. And with that said, I want you guys to always, always remember, you rock.
You rock. All right. Thank you. Good night. God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye.